Welcome to the Connor Cherland podcast, where I, Connor Cherland, meet up with a musician, hear about their life experiences, what makes them tick, what they're bringing into their art. And today we have a wonderful, wonderful person and musician, Lizabett Russo. I truly enjoyed talking to this person. So nice. We talk about learning things from her traditional Romanian grandmother, things like how to milk a cow and spin wool. We talk about herbalism, and we also talk about how to be yourself when you feel misunderstood as a child and what that's like. So please enjoy this conversation with Lizabett, and definitely enjoy her song "The Water is Wide" towards the end of the episode. It is a pleasure to meet you. I've been really enjoying your music over the last couple weeks, and I've been getting quite lost in it. I would love to, before I start asking you about your music and all that, there was another interview that you did where you were being asked about like what it's like being a musician, and your answer was, well, I'm a lot of things. And I really enjoyed that, and I want to talk about you making soap and glass beaded earrings, which is also included on your website. It also seems like you carve soap. There was a picture of like an owl that you had made out of soap. Can you tell me how you got into making soap? Also, how you make soap? I'm very interested.
So I have a deep love for herbalism. So I think just anything that's natural and comes from the natural world, I'm curious to learn about it and to make it myself. So the same thing happened with soap, basically. Just I thought, well, there's so many chemicals in all of our products and stuff like that, and I was like, well, what if I actually end up just making my own products and my own stuff, and I know what goes in there, and I can choose what method, because there's many methods for making soap, or for making any other, I don't know, maybe natural product. So I don't know, I just got into it because I remember my grandma making soap as well. She never really bought soap or anything like that. She always made her own stuff for washing clothes and washing herself or something like that. So I don't know, I just got into it because I thought it was a necessity to switch to something nicer to my body, but also nicer to the environment. So I don't know. That was my main motivation.
What are the ingredients in your soap?
So I use a method called the cold process method. So basically it takes a bit longer with this method. It takes around a month to cure it after you've made it, and I make it with olive oil, coconut oil. I use different kind of powders, herb powders or clays as well, and sometimes essential oils, but essential oils tend to be quite expensive, and it takes way too much material to make sometimes essential, so it's a bit like I'm very careful with it. But yeah, basically just any oils like the ones I mentioned, or even sometimes I would put a bit of castor oil. So yeah, I would experiment basically with natural oils.
You said you consider yourself an herbalist. What does that mean?
So I've actually studied it, and I'm still studying it. It's a long process, and it takes, I think, a lifetime to study herbs, because they're like, I don't know, thousands of them. Yeah. So basically, when you're working with herbs, it's the whole idea that our ancestors, they worked with herbs. They took herbs, and they've used it to heal themselves or to heal the people in their community. So I kind of follow the same principle. It's just that whenever I have a problem, I think first, I actually think, okay, what herbs can I use that will benefit me? I don't really think first, oh, what pill can I take from the chemist? No, I usually try and solve it with natural remedies. So yeah, I think being a herbalist is working with herbs and connecting with that world, because it's a magical kind of world, really. And just I don't know, trusting that whatever the creator left really on this planet is actually of benefit, and exploring all those benefits, and just that wonderful world of herbs and plants and all of that.
You're actually the second person that I've talked to on this podcast about herbalism, which is really interesting. Where are the boundaries of, like, in what scenarios is do you find like herbalism most effective, and in what areas do you start leaning towards, like maybe like a severe migraine or something? Like at what point are you moving away from herbs and into traditional modern medicine, however you want to say it? Do you make that distinction?
I don't know. I'll give a good example really to answer this. I think the whole idea with herbalism and with traditional medicine really is to look for the root of the problem rather than trying to find a very quick fix. Of course, with the drugs, if you have some symptoms, you take some pills from the pharmacy, and it gives you the impression of, oh, it's gone now. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of people that I talk to, and a lot of people that see me, actually, because I actually do a bit of herbalism with people, not only for myself, it tell me that they take this thing, it goes away for while they're taking it, but as soon as they stop it, it comes back. So a lot of people are like, well, what can I do so it doesn't come back anymore? Because it's all good while you take it, but once you stop taking those pills, it comes back. So I think that is such a big problem for people nowadays who are trying to fix certain things, and this is the main scenario. So with herbs, it's a bit different, because what you do is you spend a lot of time talking to people, or even investigating yourself, depending who you're working with, really. And then you're trying to find the root of the problem, the cause of the problem, not just the superficial symptoms of, oh, this feels like this and this feels like that. No, you're trying to get to the bottom of it, basically. And actually you start treating from that point up, rather than, oh, I'm gonna just try this, I'm just gonna try to treat the symptoms and I ignore all the other thing. So it's kind of amazing. It's like a journey. You basically, when you're doing herbalism, you do a journey into yourself or into the person who's coming to, see you. So you get to really go deep. It's not just superficial healing that you just want. I just want this cured right now. I want my headache to be gone or something like that. It's not gonna work like that. So I think it's quite good though, because when you start to go quite deep and to look deeper into problems, sometimes you're surprised at what you find, and there's a lot of things that people store and then they buried very deep, and then those things come out when you go very deep into the healing process. So I think it's much needed, especially in nowadays when I feel like more and more people maybe bury their emotions into their bodies, and that is reflected in certain parts or certain organs and stuff like that. And like they say in traditional Chinese medicine, if you look at people who are facing with loads of anger, they were angry all the time and very hot-headed and stuff like that, usually look at their liver, because usually there's a bit of a problem in that liver. Wow. So I like thinking of it like that, It's just amazing of pairing emotions with organs and seeing, just witnessing what's happening in there. Why is that in there?
That sounds incredibly vulnerable for the people coming in. It sounds like, well, in general, you're gathering so much information, not just about the symptoms, but about things from their past, things that they've purposefully shoved down. So that sounds very vulnerable. I imagine you would have to build trust very quickly, or you must have a reputation of trustworthiness within these group of people who are coming to you. How do you train? How were you trained is the question in this, and then how do you build that sort of a reputation? And I'm going to close this window because someone's just like honking for no reason.
Well, to be honest, you see, what I've discovered ever since I started learning about herbs and everything that has to do with what does it mean really to help someone heal themselves, because I do believe that when someone comes to you, it's not like I'm some sort of god that I can make miracles or something like that, Although I think some people really start thinking like that, but that's wrong, because everyone is their own kind of healer, to be honest. And I think everyone is really capable of healing themselves. It's not just this kind of cliche phrase, something like, oh, you can heal yourself. But you can, though, because you have this amazing body which does a crazy amount of things every day, to help you be okay and be healthy and remove all those toxins and process all that food and, make those hormones travel to the right parts of your body and things like that, So you really can, I think if you put it in your mind, and if you trust yourself, you working with herbs and you're working with this person and trusting someone like me who'd probably give you some advice, which will put you on the right path, then basically you're helping yourself. When you go to see someone, because somewhere inside your heart you think, oh, well, I trust that there is something over there for me to help me on this path, even though you might have some doubts. It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe is this person a quack or something,
Yeah.
Are they for real, or are they just like, I don't know, they just give you something, they tell you that it's going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
But if you come with that kind of mentality, and if that's the only thing you have, I think that's not the right approach. I think you must have at least a little tiny grain of trust to start on this path, which obviously comes quite hard for some people who are, I don't know, a lot of people deal with the trust issues, but I think this also is part of, trying to solve through the mystery and through the puzzle of life, really.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just building trust is, everyone is different that comes to see you, really. Some of them have probably no trust, but most of the people who seek help, they have at least a grain of trust, because otherwise they wouldn't be seeking help. Why would someone come and ask for your help if they didn't trust in even one little bit,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And who or what program trained you in how to do this?
Well, at the beginning, I'm a bit kind of self-taught, because I grew up in Transylvanian mountains, and I come from a family of kind of traditional kind of people, should I say. And my folks always took me and my brother up the mountain every weekend, and she would, she would show me plants, and she would treat me with plants. And I would remember that, because when I had, a problem with worms when I was little, just like every kid, she gave me the worst, not worst, because it's a lovely herb, but it's so bitter that you will never forget. As a child especially, never forget that.
What's it called?
It's wormwood. Wormwood?
Wormwood.
Wormwood is the one that they use in making absinthe, absinthe drink. Yeah, so that's one of the main ingredients is absinthe. Of course, in absinthe, they all taste like, oh, it's nice and sweet because you put the sugar cube and you do all that stuff. But wormwood, if you just make a tea out of it, well, that's a different story altogether. It's extremely bitter.
Wow.
But it does the job of cleansing the body of, unwanted visitors,
Yeah.
should we call them. So yeah, I don't know.
That isn't why they call it wormwood, right? Is that why they call it wormwood?
Well, it does have the word worm, right?
Right.
So
This
I think
is
it's
the
quite
wood you
indicative.
have to eat when you have worms.
Yeah, I think it has to be in relation to that. There's quite a few of them in that family. It's called the Artemisia family. That's the Latin name, and that's one of them. It's very famous, really, and it's been used for centuries. This is all that knowledge that we have for it is really old, very, very old knowledge, which is to be respected, because I do think our ancestors, they really knew what they did. They might not have labs and all, scientists to tell them, oh, this contains this, and no, they had that kind of innate knowledge that I feel that maybe we've lost somewhere along the way, because we became so technological and we're waiting for all of our answers from scientists, when we should ourselves know something for ourselves, not necessarily all the time seeking outside some validation. So I always feel like I always go back to traditions and look what they said about life, how they've seen herbs, how they dealt with them. So I've started with that was my childhood background, and then obviously I studied as well. Like I actually did courses with American herbalists like Rosemary Gladstar. She's very well known in America, and also with the East West Planetary Herb School with Michael Tierra. And yeah, I've just taken all sorts of various little courses around the world, to be honest, because it's never enough what you learn. You always continue to learn all the time.
Yeah, do you have a specialization in herbalism? Like, is there something that you feel like you have like some people have like an emphasis when they study something?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a more like a general practitioner, because I always thought, how nice would it be that you're able to help a great variety of people. Although I did think of specializing in something, and I did actually think of specializing in Lyme disease, because it's so prevalent nowadays.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm still considering whether I would like to specialize really in something, but at the moment I'm more like a general practitioner kind of.
I'd love to ask more questions about your grandmother because she seems like such an interesting figure. There's a video on your Instagram of you. Was it like making string or wool? I couldn't quite tell. You were like teaching her how to make a video, and she was teaching you how to. It looked like you were making
spinning. I was spinning the wool.
You were spinning the wool. Okay. Okay. Great. I don't know anything apparently, so I don't even know what wool looks like when it's off of an animal. Can you tell me more, like other things that she was able to teach you that have really impacted your life? It sounds like there's probably a billion.
Well, she was teaching me spinning, which I think was quite difficult, to be honest. I mean, I'm always amazed of, like, first of all, you must have great patience for that kind of stuff. And also, it's just, it's very hard on the fingers to actually make the thread equal all the time. So I was like, it took me a very long time. And without practice, you'll surely not get it, really. So I need to practice a lot in order to be able to do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing what she taught me, I don't know, the thing is like, you see, Romanian grandmothers, they don't particularly just sit down as some people will imagine and teach you something and be like, oh, here you are. No, they're very like, oh, I'm busy, busy. All the time work, they had fields. I remember when I used to go and they were younger, they always had fields to work and cows to tend and animals all the time. There was never, it was never chill time,
Mm-hmm.
And they went to bed early and they got up at 4 a.m. They started milking the cow, doing all that thing. So I remember all of those things really just observing. And I think really just by observing someone's day-to-day life like that is actually you're learning from it. And I found that that's quite true because every time when I observe someone doing it, I actually learn it better than just asking them to teach me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I get a bit more anxious when I know that they're teaching me because I asked them.
Yeah.
So when I just sit over there in the corner, I just spy on them and observe it, then I get to learn a bit of everything really and stuff like that. I wish I could say that I've learned how to milk a cow properly, but it's not easy,
How often do you get to try to milk a cow?
Nah, not very often. I don't even drink milk really, to be honest. It turns out that I was allergic to it anyway, so
oh wow.
I just liked observing it because I don't know, when you wake up at 4 a.m. and you're in between that kind of daylight and still night, that it's such a beautiful and special time. So when I would wake up at that time and just see how she would get ready, and then she would go to the barn, and the barn would be so warm, and it would be so warm because obviously the animals were breathing in that warm steam would just kind of be all around in that barn, and just that smell of hay and the smell of the cow, and the cow being all peaceful and kind of ready to maybe go see some fields, and the way she would just milk it first thing in the morning and stuff like that. All those experiences, I think that's what's really called life, experiencing life, and I treasure that kind of moments quite a lot, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's quite nice.
That sounds very special and very
you
tiring.
Asked me what else. Yeah, you asked me what else I've learned, but I suppose that I was telling more like from experience of observing rather than learning something directly.
No, it sounds like, I mean, it's a very cool visual to, like, in my mind's eye, seeing your grandma early in the morning milking a cow and you just quietly sitting in the corner watching. I want to ask more about your childhood, because you have referred to it as like being a lonely child and like dealing with bullying, but there's also like there's very like rich, it feels like you have like a really rich, strong center, and a lot of that also comes from like a solid childhood. So and also feel free to tell me like, no thank you, I don't want to answer the question. Can you help me to sort of blend these two things together, from you talking about being a lonely child and simultaneously like having these experiences like with your grandmother on a farm, which seem like very wholesome and like connective, versus this like feeling of loneliness? Where did the loneliness part exist?
I think, you see, one thing that I've learned so far, and it's still valid today, is that whenever you are a bit different as a child or as an adult, it always feels like you're being pushed out a little bit of society, you know? It always feels like you live on the margin rather than in the society. And it seems like there's always someone over there to remind you that you're different and that you don't belong somehow, you know, in this made-up society. And I think I've always kind of felt maybe lonely because I try to connect with people, but I suppose when you're different, you're now always accepted for what you are, you know? Because, I don't know, funny enough, I lived in a post-communist country and stuff like that, and, you know, the emphasis on social status was quite big, you know, in school, you know? People really, you know, kids really thought of, oh, but your parents are working class, or, you know, your dad does this, or your mom does this, and my mom does that, you know? So, I always thought it's like, I even lied once, you know, whenever at the beginning of each year they would ask you, so what do your parents do and stuff like that. I remember one time I lied because I knew that I would be bullied for telling that I'm working class, you know, that my parents do some, you know, working class jobs, nothing fancy, nothing, you know. So I suppose, I don't know, I just felt like, well, you know, what is the point of trying all the time to integrate when there's things that I, as a child, could not have overcome, you know? I cannot change what I am and stuff like that, and I didn't want it to change. What was wrong? There was nothing wrong in my opinion, you know, with me or my family or anything, really. So I think that's why I ended up becoming more of a recluse, I suppose, you know, just, I don't know, minding my own business, you know? And doing whatever I did and stuff like that. And that was enough for me, really, and I suppose I'm still much of a lone wolf because such is the world. But then, you see, I grew up in the city, right? So every 3 months of the year, whenever the summer vacation came, my mom would send me to my grandparents. So I used to spend all of that time over there, 3 months every year. I would spend all of that time in a place where the only commodity is electricity, you know. The toilet was in the courtyard in a separate bed, and the water was from the pump, so you had to go and pump it outside and then bring it back into the house. And it was the best thing ever, really, to be honest. You know? I loved it because it taught me what to live for real is, really, you know? Like, not everything was a bit more harder, of course. Now everything was at the touch of the button, but that actually taught me that to live is very different than what I'm doing in the city. And it taught me that hard work is very good and is to be respected. And that clean water from the pump will never compare to the water that comes through the pipes in the city. Never. Even more so nowadays when they put 10,000 chemicals in it and all the stuff that happens with the water. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
So that really allowed me to just, like, even if I was lonely over there, it didn't matter though. When you're in nature, you're never lonely, you know? It's only when you're in city, you know, in a concrete boxes, surrounded by so many people, but you feel so lonely. But when I was there in the countryside with nature at my backside, I never felt lonely. So I'm so grateful that I had, you know, I still have my grandma, she's still alive and stuff like that, and she still lives over there, and I'm really grateful that I had that as a child. It was so great.
There are there's like so many talented people with a lot of friends who like feel so when you come across them, they come across as a hungry person, and it's very interesting to like see or to meet someone, to like take in someone's art who doesn't have that same sense about them of like feeling satisfied in nature, feeling satisfied with like hard work and pumping water is like I think it's a very important quality. And I do think a lot of people are missing that. There's a line in one of your songs where you say, the one thing that changes everything, the love instilled in me. Gorgeous line, clearly. I'd love to, while we're on this very nice subject of like, I never felt lonely in nature and I'm so grateful for my grandmother, that love that has been instilled in you, where are some of the biggest sources that you're finding that love, and how has it changed you and the way you interact with people?
Definitely the love that comes from nature and everything that you observe in it, that's definitely a big part for me. And also, but not in a hippie way, because I think a lot of people, when you start talking about, you know what I mean though, when you start talking about nature, everyone thinks, oh, this one is off on another planet kind of thing, And I'm like, well, I'm not talking about it like that. I'm talking about it in the real sense of what does it really mean to be in nature. Not in nature to take a selfie, not in nature to just be like, oh, I'm seeing a mountain now, I'm I'm jumping in a car and I forget all about it. No. What I mean is really experiencing nature, the good and the bad. Because of course, in nature you get loads of annoying pests like mosquitoes and midges and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And then sometimes that really makes you like, oh, I hate nature, Yeah. You're really thinking, oh my God, I can never enjoy this because all those things are trying to eat me alive. But then, what would nature be without them, And all the wild animals which add to that element of, feeling a bit wild yourself and stuff like that. Everything has a purpose, all the good and the bad and stuff like that. We see it bad, obviously, because everything that doesn't do us good, we think, oh, it's bad. Yeah. And for centuries, we've tried to kill everything that done us bad, which is, really bad, because now we're actually reaping the consequences, really,
Yes, yeah.
So I think that kind of love of everything, though, all the good things and the bad things in nature, stuff like that, and I think you get loads of love from nature, I mean, I'm not sure if you get this, but when you live in the city for a long time, and then you go for a trip somewhere in the countryside, and then you immerse yourself, or you let yourself be immersed in nature. Now, isn't that love though? I think that's love, because it makes you feel so good, and you're all of a sudden relaxing, and you're not thinking about whatever crap email you have to send to someone or something like that. And if you can get to that state of allowing yourself to be taken in by nature, that means it's really great. Which I think is it's quite hard for people to just detach nowadays, because they're always thinking about, oh, I have to answer to this and do that. But when you let go of that, then I think there's a lot of love from nature. And then I think the other ones that I get that kind of love that it's instilled in me, it's obviously from parents, Don't get me wrong, my parents are not perfect, They've done things that I think, oh, that's not really parenting, Yeah, that's like not how you not to parent, actually. Right. But then, once again, it's the good and the bad, right? How would I know what's good and bad if I didn't have all these experiences and stuff like that and learn from them? If you only have good experiences, I think life would be really boring and think, oh, I haven't learned anything, You're not progressing, you're not level yourself up, You're just a one line, floating somewhere. So I'm really grateful, I suppose, to all the things, all the good and the bad that was in my family, and it helped me really to see what to do and what not to do. And of course, I did get love, for sure I did get love, I know that, even though it's tough love, because it's Eastern European love. It's not like in America where everyone's like, oh, lovey-dovey, and, oh, I love you. No, it's not like that over there. We're more like tough love. But tough love is the true love, though, because, even though it's like tough, there's always a nice warm heart behind it, though. So it's good, It has its unique way, I suppose. And I don't know, all the love that I get from the close people that I know, I suppose, all of that, and all the experiences that I've had, and all of that. All of life is in there, in that line that you just said. All of it, for the good and the bad.
Now I just want to start asking you for like life advice, pretty much. Why?
No. I'm in no position.
Why do you think people are so reluctant? I mean, myself included. Why do you think people are so reluctant to give themselves into nature, the good and the bad?
Well, a lot of people have a lot of fear. I mean, I think fear is number one enemy, really, and number one emotion, even more so nowadays. I find that people are afraid of anything nowadays. Even if it's an irrational fear, it's still there though, and it's still causing damage. Yeah. And you see, the problem with fear is you can't really just take a pill and that's it, it's gone. No, that thing doesn't work like that, That things really require hard work from the person who has to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So I think, fear is really keeping people from just enjoying themselves, you know. Some people are just so fearful of everything under the sun that they just really forget how to enjoy themselves, you know. They just don't know how to enjoy themselves anymore. And then another thing, they don't allow themselves to have a good time. And I think I got that line said to me once, and I was wondering, what does it mean? What do you mean I don't know how to enjoy myself? I thought it was such a weird thing to say. Yeah. I thought I was enjoying myself. But then I realized I was very tense, you know. I was very tense, and I was always like on the lookout, you know, always with the, you know, mistrust, you know. I was like, oh my God, you know, someone's over here to get me. You know, I was like, this is so irrational, you know. Right. There's no one here to get me, you know. And if you go around in that vibe and in that kind of mentality, then, you know, you really don't know how to enjoy yourself. It's true, you know. So then I had to learn how to relax and how to trust, you know. And it's okay, you know. Some things, not everything is pink, you know, and whatever, you know. So it's good. It's good to just forget all about, oh, I have to be on the lookout all the time and stuff like that. Just to let go, and sometimes just expose yourself to the, you know, to the wonders of life. Really, just fall a bit into the unknown. It's okay, you know. Nothing will happen. I don't know, take a few risks, you know. People don't take risks anymore. Everything is calculated. Everything is like, it's like everything is made through a calculator kind of thing, you know. Everything is like measured, calculated, and I don't know. I think it's a bit too much of that. I think it's wise to be sometimes, you know, cautious. But when you're too cautious, then you actually stop living. You know, that's not life anymore. You're just, breathing and eating and, you know, doing whatever, but that's not called life. And that's like going through life like a goose through the water. That's an expression that I've translated from Romanian. I think that's what it would sound like, but yeah, that's definitely not life though. And I would definitely not choose to live like that, because while I'm alive, I want to feel like I'm alive. Yeah.
I am someone who is tense and has a hard time letting go and calming down and like being in a moment and taking risks. How did you learn to be more relaxed, to let go a little bit more? Like, was there an experience or something you read, or what was that like for you?
You know, I thought about what was it that changed the way I was. And then I think what happened is that I traveled a lot through different cultures, and I've also lived with a lot of people. Like I've always, like when I was in my early 20s, I would live in different places, and even in the UK and stuff like that. And I would live with loads of people, because of course you can never, as a musician, you can never afford to rent a whole flat for yourself. So you'd always rent a room in a building or in the house with many people. At one point when I lived in London for a while, I lived with 7 different people from 7 different countries. Wow. Now that will change you. I'll tell you. When you have to learn about your housemates, and they're all from different cultures and they all have their different ways, I think that really changes you, the way you see things, and it makes you more accepting, you know. It makes you more patient towards people and more embracing towards their culture and the way they are, because you see them as what they are, really people. It doesn't really matter where they're from, you know. And then what happens within you is that you start trusting as well a bit more. You start seeing, well, this is all just people, no matter what culture they come from, whatever the religion is, whatever they pray to, or whatever they say and stuff like that. At the end of the day, when they come home and they come to their little room, you know, there's a beautiful softness to everyone, you know. And I think that's just observing that made me feel like, well, actually I can relax, you know. These people are all cool, you know. They're just trying to do what everyone tries to do, live and enjoy themselves and have some experiences and you know, go through life somehow, you know, and just figuring out why are they here, like all of us basically, you know. So I think that really helped me relax as well, just observing them. And like I said, traveling through different countries and living with different people and learning their ways and showing them my ways and stuff like that. Just having an exchange with people and stuff like that. It really makes you feel more accommodating for everything and for everyone. And that allows you to, I don't know, just allows you to be a human being, you know? You know, it makes you let go of all the judgments, of all the, oh, but you're like this and I'm like that, or anything like that. And those things don't matter, you know? And it just makes you feel like, wow, it's so much to life, you know. There's no time for any, oh, I'm too shy, or I'm too tense, something like that. There's no time for that, you know, because if I did that, if I didn't let go of all the tension and stuff like that, I would have missed half of all the experiences I've got in life until now. And I would have regretted that. But I have no regrets now. Even if I die tomorrow, I can say that I have no regrets. I'm fine, you know. I've done a lot of things, and I've overcome quite a few things. So I'm just really happy that I've managed to do it in the way that I did it.
You seem so at peace.
Oh, no. So at peace with what I'm talking, you know. There's always something to work on, don't worry.
With that level of acceptance, because there is this tension, like odds are you're not gonna die tomorrow, just like probably. You're in good health currently. Statistically, you're alive tomorrow. How do you even have goals? How do you set goals for yourself? Like what are things that you hope to do in the future?
What do I hope to do in the future? I really wanna grow my own vegetables. That's a big thing for me, you know. I've been wanting to live in the countryside and grow my own herbs and grow my own vegetables for a long time, and I know it's going to happen very soon. So that is definitely something that it's in the near future, to say so. And I don't know, I always want to obviously share my music with as many people as I can, but I don't believe in compromising that, you know. If people don't really like what I do, or people think, oh, I should sound more like this or do more like that to be more popular, that's not for me, you know. So I'm okay with with the people that get what I do and they like it the way it is. I'm very happy. And just want to always have meaning in life. I think for me that's very important. If I wake up and I think, oh, well, what's my meaning? If I don't have a straight answer or feeling that, okay, I know what it is, and inside myself, I think, okay, I need to do some work because today I'm not feeling that good. If I forget about my meaning, then it's a problem. I need to work a bit on myself. Yeah. So for me, to have meaning every single day, it's very important.
Well, I hope that you don't change your music because it's very cool. One of the things I really enjoyed about it is I kept finding myself getting lost in a lot of the, not just the sounds, like clear the soundscape is like pretty easy to lose yourself in because it's so spacious, and it has a lot of like quiet repetitive things that you can, like, your brain will start to clue into, and it'll kind of put you under a spell a little bit. But also the ideas, like a lot of there's a little part where you say, you're a tiny, tiny seed. And then your voice gets even tinier, like, tiny, tiny. And even that, where I'm like, also that's not the only song that references, there's another song where you mention you're a little seed, and like this concept continuing to be a through line throughout the album, it pulls you in. Also, you just reference nature a ton, so like mentioning how you're like the river or like the wind. I found myself falling into these ideas and really like meditating on these ideas, and your music being a way to meditate on very true things, which is like you're a bunch of potential energy like running through time. Does meditation have a place in your life? Do you practice meditation? These things feel meditative to me, so I just kind of assumed based on that you would have some sort of meditative practice, but that could just be me assuming.
You see, at the beginning of lockdown, I actually thought, well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be waking every day and doing a routinely session. So that lasted for some time. Well, not that long, to be honest. Because one thing that I'm not good at is routine. I do not do every day the same thing because I cannot. I'm one of those people who, I don't do routine because it doesn't work for me. Yeah. So while I did it at the beginning, and that was good, don't get me wrong, but I never stick with one of these things. I think when I'm making like a herbal preparation or something like that, that for me is meditation. So when I do something that really I feel like in tune with it, then actually for me that's like meditation. Or when I do some singing that has nothing, it's not a song, it's just, I don't know, I just invent things. That is meditative for me. So I think I found different ways to do meditation, not necessarily just sitting down and trying to clear my mind. So I found different other little ways that work for me. Yeah. Unfortunately, all the other wake up in the morning and do first thing in the morning doesn't work. No, unfortunately, no. I wish it could, because it felt good while I was doing it. But then, as soon as I'm in nature, that gives me what I need really as well, and that helps me clear off my mind. So as long as I'm in nature as much as possible, that's me sorted.
I could ask so many more questions about herbalism, but I'm going to refrain myself because it would just go on forever, and I'm not paying you right now to teach me about herbalism. So. Would it be possible for you to play a song while we're on the subject of your music? Also, feel free to say no if you're not feeling it, because it is late where you are.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, I can play that Water's White. You mentioned that
cool.
You like it, so...
You're also, if there's any song that you're really feeling, I know sometimes people recommend songs. They're like, oh, you should play this. But you're like, I'd really not rather play that right now. Feel free to, if there's something that you would really prefer to play, you're more than welcome to.
No, I'll play that one. It's kind of like a lullaby, and it's good for this time of the day over here. Well, okay. Time of the night over here, more like. Yeah, I can play that one. I'm just gonna drink something before, so
go
I
for
don't
it.
Die in the middle of it. Cool.
The water's wide, I can't cross over. I need a heart, I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two. I'm out Cheryl, my love and I. There is a sheep, and she sails the sea. She's loaded deep, as deep can be, but not so deep as the love I'm in. I know not how I sink or swim. Oh, love is handsome, and love is fine. The sweetest flower when first is new, but love grows old and rocks its cold and fades away like morning dew. The water's wide, I can't cross over. I need a heart, I wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two. I'm out alone. My love,
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I'm like tearing up over here. Goodness.
It's a nice song, isn't it? I like this song.
It's such a nice song.
It's like almost like a lullaby, I find it.
Yeah, but it's so much more. Like,
Lullaby Plus.
yeah, Lullaby Plus. Now streaming on Lullaby Plus. It yeah, you mentioned like what is my meaning, and like waking up and knowing what your meaning is, and I feel like one of my meanings is like to be moved by other things in the world, and like to continue to seek out things that move me. And I think you are so much that. Like that song and the quality that you hold as a person comes through your music so differently compared to other people that I run into. Yeah, there's like a real clearly like being from another country, like hearing like having that traditional Romanian background like gives you certain melodic roots that other people don't have.
For sure.
So that definitely goes into it. On a more shallow note, just logistics, you mentioned in another interview like traditional Romanian music as a kid. Do you have any recommendations, things that I could listen to that would probably be enjoyable?
Well, even if I tell you, it might be very hard to remember.
Well, that's why I will write it down.
There is one band. Well, I say a band, but it's more like a gathering of sisters. Should I call it? Because it's made up of, actually they're all sisters. The ladies who are in this, let's call it band. Group, let's call it a group. I think that's more appropriate, I suppose, for this kind of thing. It's not really in traditional music. You don't really get a band as per you would think a band in America kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
These sisters are called Surorile Osoianu.
Oh, you're gonna have to spell it.
Hold on, let me think. SURORILE, and then the next word is OSOIANU.
And you, okay?
You know how hard it is to do that? To do spelling from Romanian into English. It's like your brain is like, what? Hold on, I didn't catch that. It's quite difficult. I think I got it right.
Suroli Osoianu. I
Something like that, yeah.
butchered that. Okay, great. I'm going to start there. I'd love to ask you for other recommendations as well, if you don't mind. Before we head out, do you have, like over the last couple years or in general, is there a book that has stood out to you, that has meant a lot to you or moved you in a particular way?
Oh my God. Now you've came into my other land of passion. I'm a big book person, like I had to get rid of some of them because there was too many of them.
I legitimately read these recommendations that people give me on this podcast.
I see.
So even if I don't like it, I'll still go through at least half of it.
Can I give you an author? Because
yes,
even if you don't like this book that I'm going to say from him, I've read all of his other books and I love him. He's dead. He's been dead for a while. His name is Hermann Hesse. So Herman, as in, although the way he says it, where he's from, is Herman, but it's just like Herman. And Hesse is Hesse.
Okay.
And I don't even know which one to recommend from him. I love all of them. I love the way this man really thought about everything that he talks in his books. And a lot of his books are quite philosophical, but it's really incorporated in stories. So it's not just like philosophy. You know. What should I recommend from him? You see, this is tough. I would say read his whole library.
Yeah.
Start with that. Well, you see, his most famous one is the Glass Beads game, but that is a massive book to start with. So I would suggest starting with Peter Kamezin. if you search, if you don't know how to spell the second one, if you just type in Peter with his
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
I'm sure it will come up.
Yeah.
So that's a nice one. Obviously, the other one that I just mentioned, the glass beat game, that's quite a substantial one. So maybe start with the smaller one first.
Okay.
And see how you like it. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, he's a great author. Really great. From the old Europe, as in America, you say. From the old world. Sorry.
I always like to end on a more relatable note for everyone. And one of the things everyone shares in common is humiliation. Awkwardness. What is the worst gig that you've ever played?
Well, there was a gig that I played many years ago, and the only person that was there was a dog. Yeah, I remember that. But I actually felt like I had a good audience because the dog was actually listening. Sometimes you would get people who are trying their very hard not to listen to you and to ignore you and stuff like that. But the dog was actually paying attention. So I don't know if that counts as a worst gig. But yeah, it just came to my mind because I remember I thought it was so funny that all that I had over there was this dog who, I don't know, just happened to be there. I had no idea why he was there in the first place. Yeah. Yeah, one of those strange things in life,
That's amazing. I understand what you mean. There are a lot of people that go to to see live music in order to talk over musicians with their friends.
Course, yeah. It's
Which doesn't make any sense to me. Those are all the questions that I have for you. I feel like I can talk with you for a very, very long time, but I don't want to keep you up so late where you are.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I will. I'll go ahead and clap us out.